Thank you so much for joining us on this special evening. Tonight, we have a special podcast episode with Edith. Edith is an entrepreneur, an organizer, and a powerful woman out of the Bay Area that is doing great things. And today, we're going to have a small discussion, or better said, a private discussion, or better said, a inspirational discussion about the work that she is doing and her mindset during these changing times that everyone's experiencing. So, Edith, just to quickly check in, how are you doing? How's everything with you over the last few days?
It's very interesting. Lots of ups and downs, but I mean, everything's for a good reason. So I'm grateful.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful.
Yes, there's definitely many things to be grateful for, and I appreciate you sharing your vulnerability and just, being real with everyone about the ups and downs, because that is something that everyone can relate to at this uncertain moment, right? There seems like there's so many moments of uncertainty with everyone in their own personal lives, their families, their relationships, their business, whatever it may be. But you definitely hit it on the head when you said the ups and downs. So thank you for being so honest and vulnerable about that. And continuing the conversation, we're definitely going to get into your history, who you are, what you stand for, right? But just recently, you were celebrating a 1-year anniversary on what you can call a monumental event that you hosted in Richmond at the Bridge Art Center, I believe it's called. Could you speak a little bit about that event and and how did you even organize it and what it was?
So I think it's gonna be a year in January, which is like in a few weeks, but it is like almost gonna be a year. But yeah, pretty much it was just like me. I was taking pictures of people, and I told this guy that I was taking pictures of, that I was taking classes for design, and he was like, "Oh, you should hit up this guy, Philip from Richmond. This for the owner of R&R Coffee, basically."
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, like I'm going to class. Like I heard you doing a fashion show. I wanted to like help out whatever way I can help out." And then he was like, "Oh, let's do an interview." And after that, he was just like, "Oh, you're just gonna direct this thing." I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I don't know how to do that, but fine, I'll do it. And he was, "Oh, I'll mentor you through it." And basically, it was an all-included fashion show, and like he let me like kind of have my ideas of what to do, but it was about everybody and bringing everybody together, and it was mainly about Richmond. But I tried my best to involve, since it was all included, like to involve people from all over the Bay Area. And yeah, so that happened.
Absolutely. It's so great to hear, your perspective looking back. And what I was able to take from just seeing everything resurface, right? Because it happened almost a year ago, you said in January, and you organized this event where it seemed like you obviously were unexpectedly you took like a management role or director role, and you organized something that will forever be recorded in history, not only in the city of Richmond, but as I was able to see it, as everyone else is just on social media, but on every internet platform, which was so many brands were able to capture so much great content during that fashion show. And just to hear, obviously you made it seem like it was a small effort or a small feat, but to organize anything and have a unison or have a group of people working in harmony for a great cause, like what you said, a fashion show, and just seeing the brands now today, sharing their own personal videos, because, everyone had their own lens, their own perspective, their own photographers. How were you able to get all these influencers, all these brands, all these entrepreneurs in one same room. What was that conversation like?
Um, well, there was a lot of conversations. Basically, like I just reached out to who I thought had the same vision, or like whoever like I felt like fit with the vision, I guess. And like whether they were big or small, it was more like a state of mind. Um
Mm,
and I just was like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I would like try to like give either meet with them or talk to them over the phone, and then they would decide whether they wanted to be a part of it or not. And then those who did will show up to the meetings, and like um every meeting was like had a purpose, and like it mainly was for everybody to get to know each other.
mm-hmm,
So then, like there was of course like a lot of like, are we doing this or not, or like misunderstandings and things like that. But I feel like within the community, which is the artists that collaborated, there was like not much drama at all, if any.
mm,
Because they were all like vibing and just like open to the experience, and they all seem to have a good time.
absolutely. And I'm sure a great part of that was just, your demeanor, your mood, and like you said, your mind state.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I want to go into, right? Because mind state is very big, especially today more than ever, right? What is your mind state, in dealing with anything? And that's something to always keep in perspective when, speaking to anyone, because, we see people exteriors, or we see people's outside surface level appearance, but we don't know what anyone's going through inside. So my question
Right.
to you is, how did you get to that mind state where you have decided to put or highlight, let's say, better said, other people's works, and not be caught up in what so many other people get caught up in, ego and everything's about me, all eyes on me. Instead, you've been able to do such a great job, and we're going to get into everything else you're doing. But how were you able to create that mind state, and is that your mind state, or what is your current mind state, in
Mm-hmm.
working with entrepreneurs and stuff like that?
Well, I feel like I always struggle with my ego, the same as everybody, because like even you now, it's like, oh, like you're giving me a compliment, and it's like, oh, it feels nice, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like really, why? It's there, but it's like also like, okay, I was like in a really sad space, I guess you could say. I was like heartbroken over a guy, and like I was like, oh, I want to die, like when you feel a lot or
Hmm.
whatever. And
Yeah.
and then something just happened, and I remember going to the beach, and I was just staring at the sky, and I was just like, well, if I'm willing to die already for something that I didn't know, that is dumb, because like over a guy, really, like I'm really young, like why am I tripping? um and then I was like, why not do something with my life for somebody, and I was like, eventually the idea came to me like, oh, like take pictures of people that you think are cool. And then eventually it was like all these cool people were like, oh, were the ones that I hit up, because most people that dress a certain way have a certain life, and a lot of them have like, I don't know, you can tell when somebody, the way they dress, the kind of like mindset they have. And like
Mm,
most of those people are like, oh, I'm going to school for this, but I also do that. And like it was like artistic with like scientific, or like they're like lawyers, or you know what I mean, like random like financial advisors, or
mhm.
like you never know what
Yeah,
they are, like trainers. A whole lot of
sure.
people like, oh, I have my brand, but I also like other things, like I manage this company, or like all kinds of people.
Yeah. And that's getting into what you started, which is called steez in the Bay,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
So
pretty
when did?
much how I
Uh-huh.
got to that mindset, because I just went off that wave, I guess, and then that's just how I landed there.
Right. And for those who are, obviously tuning in, or who, or it's not live right now, but I'm saying
Yeah.
for those who are obviously listening, and, can you just give them a clear understanding as to what steez in the Bay is?
Steez from the Bay is basically, since I liked style or clothes, or just, being expressive with what you wear. Steez is that word, and it also comes from capital Steez, which is a rapper who also believed in chakras and all that, but I'm not gonna get into that. But I was like,
Mhm.
I wanted to bring that vibe to the Bay Area and like highlight all those DC people that I see every day. They're kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely. And I just want to quickly mention that I was able to do, or was featured on one of these um, you know, uh, shoots with Edith. And what was so cool and encouraging about working with Edith was that she was so open-minded in the fact that, when you're doing a photo shoot, and especially if you're not a model, I don't consider myself a model,
Mhm.
right? It's always, like, I have to pose, but like you have to get comfortable in a sense
Yeah.
to express yourself or be open to a camera or shoots. And working with you was something that definitely opened my eyes to how it's all about the photographer, but it's all about getting in that right mind state, right,
Mhm.
to deliver almost, or to be expressive, or to be creative, or to be an artist,
Right.
right? And I saw that with you and working with you. And I remember I brought a jacket that it's so funny that I bought, and as soon as I bought it, and other people saw it, they're like, yo, that jacket is kind of whack, like that jacket's kind of ugly. But when you saw that jacket, you were like, yo, throw that on. And I was like, who is this? Like, who's thinking like this? And it was just a great reminder, right, that um ultimately, as creatives, as artists, as entrepreneurs, we're always looking for community. We're always looking almost for acceptance, per
Mhm.
se. But at the end of the day, we really don't need it, right? It's really our self-validation which matters.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think, just reflecting again upon, just you and Steve's for the Bay, I want to say thank you for, highlighting so many different people's stories. Because if you go to visit on Instagram, which is, what is the page on Instagram? The handle, the social media handle?
Uh, Steez from the Bay.
Steve's from the Bay. Spell it out.
STEEC from the Bay.
Yeah,
I'm like, did I
exactly.
do that
So
right?
go,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I know how to
yeah,
spell.
go check it out, and literally go through their page and see how they highlighted all these individuals who come from different backgrounds. And like Edith said, they're all living so many different lives and so many different hats.
Mhm.
And just so we can go a little bit back, on just your story, can you give us a background, just, introduction as to, your upbringing, your family, where'd you grow up, what was that like, all that information?
I was born in Tepatitlan, Jalisco. Uh, that's people call it Tepa sometimes. It's easier because Tepatitlan sounds a little hard. But yeah, I was born over there. Basically, it was a city like near Guadalajara, and
Mm.
my mom was from the country, my dad was from the city, and they met in the city, and that's where we lived. But we will always be um in the rancho on the weekends, with my grandma and stuff. So it was like I got a taste of both lives. And
Mm.
my dad was a truck driver, and my mom was just a badass. And that's all I remember. And yeah, basically, I just had a great time over there. And then I think I have family here in Berkeley, so we visit like when I was like probably 10 or 11. And of course,
Mm.
we weren't wealthy or whatever. So coming over here, I was like, it wasn't just that, like, of course, life is like nice. You know, like it's nice. It's like, how do you say it? A little fancy, you know, because there's a lot of shiny things here that aren't over there. What I
Sure.
loved about Berkeley, what my cousin told me, was that people don't judge you. Like they just like you could
Mhm.
be like naked and everybody be like, "Well, this crazy motherfucker," and like move along. As to in Mexico, you can't do that. You can't just be yourself.
Right.
You know, like you have to be who they want you to be, and that's what I
Mm.
was just like, well, that part, you know, like was amazing, and I just like my mom was like wanted things to get better for us, and like she saw opportunities over here, so we moved over here. And I went to
Yeah.
King in 8th grade, and then graduated from Berkeley High, and then just went to
Mm.
hella colleges.
That sounds like a very interesting but also great upbringing because you get a mixture of so many different
Hmm.
cultures,
Definitely.
and from even like your beginning in Mexico to Berkeley. And so being in Berkeley, and it is definitely different from the Bay Area. It's been said that every city or every town or whatever you want to call it in the Bay Area has its own distinct like
That's
vibe.
so true.
How would you describe Berkeley? I know that you said it's very free, but what else? Else would
I
you
think
describe
the
Berkeley?
best word is hippie. Like if we're gonna go to
Hippie,
one word, is hippie. Um,
right? There's just so much history. Yeah.
there is like a lot of bougie vibes, but also like bougie humble vibes, I guess you could say. You
Hmm.
know, I think that's the vibes I get. But
Yeah.
also like, I mean, it's a lot gentrified now, but before I felt like it was very mixed. Although we were
Mm.
very segregated, I never noticed it because either way, like at lunch, we saw all kinds of people, you know, like to me, that was crazy. Like, oh my God, I just seen somebody from Africa. Oh my God, I just seen somebody that's from Japan. Like, to me, that was crazy. Like, how am I in the same
Yeah.
space? Although we didn't have the same classes or whatever. I mean, I kind of did because I was like, in the English learning students section. So it was we were all from some place in art, you know. I saw other people that were like from Berkeley, Oakland, or other places.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy to me. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I see Berkeley.
No, thank you for that description. It's definitely different, and I don't want to get away from what you mentioned in Mexico. You mentioned something really cool where you said that what was different is that out here there's so many shiny things. Just to go back
Mhm.
on that, what would you say is something that happens in Mexico, or something about the culture in Mexico that you wish was normal here, like something that's not done here but is done where you're from, where your family's from? Like what's a tradition or something in culture?
Oh, it's gonna be hard. Um, mm,
What's something that you miss out that you loved to do while you were out there as just a child that's not necessarily available
I
here?
guess like family reunions every weekend at the rancho.
Mm,
But that's like,
okay.
now that I think about it, not everybody gets that over there too. You know, we just have family there.
But it was your
Yeah, but it was
experience.
what
Yeah.
yeah, like, but it was like my mom had 9 brothers and sisters, so we all just
Mm,
them and their 9 kids each. So
yeah.
we would all just like almost every weekend, damn near go to
Mm,
the ranch and like explore the land and just have fun, which is
right.
something that I kind of miss. But
Mm-hmm. Animals and all
yes,
that.
like not just views like we get here, but like animals, and
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
haunted
Beautiful.
houses and all that crazy shit.
I
Yeah.
hear you. Well, definitely. Thank you so much for describing that. And another thing that really intrigued me in our conversation when we were talking was you were talking about bartering,
Oh yeah.
and I know you briefly mentioned it, but can you just break down this whole mindset or theory that you have about bartering and why it's something that we all probably should be practicing.
I thought it was crazy when you said that word the other day. I was like, what is he talking about? I was like, what does that mean? And I Googled it and I was like, oh my God. Like, that's what I've been doing.
Yes.
But yeah, basically, because when I started taking pictures, I was just like, well, I can't just, I can do so much more than just take pictures, even though I'm not like a professional. So I was like, well, I can do all these things for you. And like, you can do these things for somebody else. And like, I think that's kind of what we did for the fashion show. Cause I was like taking pictures of hella people. Sorry. And then, yeah, that when I mentioned this thing, they were like, oh, I'm down to help, whatever you need. Like, there was like, these people had nothing to do with fashion shows, but they were wanted to help, just because.
Mhm.
So I just love that idea that we don't, I mean, why not? Because I'm not against money, but I am like, I do see that it's possible for us to work together without having money around, which makes the whole experience more like you want to be there, not that you're trying to get a check,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And in going into that, it's about fostering
Hmm.
relationships, about meeting people for who they really are and
Exactly.
getting to know them.
Yeah.
How do you think that? How do you think we do that right now in 2020 when, everyone seems like they're either at home or they're online, but it seems like there's a larger disconnection. Like everyone's online, but not everyone's
It's
connected.
so hard
Do you get?
because it's
Yeah.
like those who do hang out, it's like, oh, like you're not supposed to. It's quarantine. And it's like, you don't care about people if you do. And I'm like, oh, but I miss my friend. Like, so it's weird. Um,
Right.
but the way that I do it is like, okay, if I feel like social media is a lot, I try my best to, like, what am I not doing wrong? Why is it a lot? Oh, because I'm not meditating in the morning. I'm not reading the
Mm,
books that help me get back to open space in my heart. I'm angry more often, or like I'm feeling jealousy, or like I'm not enough. So that's like when you have to step back kind of.
yeah.
But I also
Absolutely.
like I try to like interact with whoever is like watching my stories, like, so I'm like, if somebody's watching my stories that I don't know, I'm like, who are you and why are you here? Like, are we friends
Where'd you
or are
come
we not
from?
friends? Like,
Yeah.
what do you like? And a lot of people hit me up and they'll be like, oh, this is so funny. And like, although I do have my ups and downs, sometimes I get angry because a lot of nonsense, but it's
Right,
fun,
right, right.
to like hear like people can relate to you, and like it's a form
Mm,
of connection as long as I'm taking care of myself too first.
mm, absolutely. And can you speak a little bit about that? What's your daily routine like?
Oof.
What's your early day routine like? You said you know, um I believe you said reading, you said being outside.
So you want to hear what my day routine like day is, so it should be like, what am I saying, what it should be like, or what it actually is like?
What yeah, yeah, no, what's your ideal day like? Because I mean, like, let's be honest, we're not gonna front and
I
be like, oh,
meditate every
like
day.
we
Yeah.
live a perfect life
No.
every day. No, like, what's your ideal? Like, yo, this is if I do this, yo, don't mess with
Oh
me. Like,
yeah,
I'm on it. Like, I'm
Super
focused.
Saiyan, definitely. um
Exactly.
if I wake up early, I am not doing Thrive. So it's like this thing that is probiotics and kind of get you started and gives you energy. So I have that routine for sure, like where I'm like, it's something to look forward to because I like that shake in the morning and that 20-minute wait and having time to like hopefully meditate, or
Right.
just breathe or like be thankful if I don't grab the phone, right? That sounds good. And
Mm,
then after that, if I'm feeling good, I do my bed. And like, workout in the morning sounds great and all, but it's been so hard to get into that right now. But I always have my workouts there, like on the side. Like sometimes I do it and it feels great, and then I could just get started and go to work or whatever. But I try to, since I don't, there's not much time to be in nature sometimes, especially when it's raining and I don't have a car, you know.
Yeah.
The best part is like, for example, if it's raining right now, whenever you touch the sun or the rain or air, or in the morning, if you get out early enough, you can breathe different kind of air, you know. And it's just like, you don't even have to meditate, you just have to acknowledge that it's beautiful at that moment. So I'm working on that one, because then I feel bad if I don't take 5 minutes to completely meditate. So that's a starter. um Other than that, yeah, just work and regular family stuff. Yeah.
I love it. It's very simple, but
Yeah.
it works, right? It's very
I mean,
organic.
there's so much
Yeah.
more than that. I just
Awesome.
feel like that's a routine I would like to do every day.
Right. Right. And as we wrap
Yes.
up, Edith, I definitely want to get some gems. You've definitely been dropping so many gems, just like what you just mentioned now with your daily routine. But what would be a good message? Not a good message, but what's your message, right? What's the message that you want to leave to creatives, to artists, to entrepreneurs who are dealing with the daily life motions? What would be a message that
I'm
you can
ready.
give?
I'm ready. So I got this from a horoscope reader. I'm not gonna mention it, but what he said that really got to me was, I need to translate it because it was in Spanish. Um, the strength of the people is the races united, I guess.
Mm,
And in Spanish, it was La fuerza es las razas unidas. Yeah,
mm, mm-hmm.
that's the message that came through.
That's yeah, that's very powerful. Can you say it one more time in English?
The strength is the races united. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The strength is the races
Yeah.
united.
It's
Mm.
not as good as in Spanish, though. Oh.
Yeah,
But
some things in
we gotta,
Spanish just hit
yeah,
so
we gotta
different.
bring them together.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And in Spanish, ¿cómo
Es
es?
la fuerza es la unión de las razas.
La fuerza es la unión de
Yes.
las razas.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Edith, thank you so much for taking your time today to just chat really quickly. And this is really just, just hitting on the surface about, our conversation about who you are, introduction, and everything else you're
It's
doing.
all good.
But I think that this is just the beginning of a very great journey that we're both on, but more importantly that we're experiencing in our creative lives. So I want to thank you so much for everything that you represent, everything that you're doing, and then again, more importantly, for just being authentically yourself.
Thank you.
Right, you are bringing so much love and light to different individuals by doing that, by just being yourself and making and creating the opportunities that you do for other people. So thank you for that, and thank you for your message. Thank you for your love and light and everything else. Anything else that you would like to say before we get off
I
the
just want to
podcast tonight?
say right back at you. I appreciate you, family. That's it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Edith, we'll be
Yes.
speaking soon, and much love and light to you, health and wellness to all you and
Thank
yours,
you.
okay?
Right back at you.
Talk to
Peace.
you soon.